Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm going to turn on my screen sharing so we can talk about, I'd like to talk a little bit about reference and what I feel like is good reference and not such good reference. This particular one, I chose it for a reason because I know that this photograph was not taken professionally. It was taken by a friend of mine here on the ranch, and this cat just lives down the road. And this is the reason why I thought, let's try to paint it. To me, in one regard, I feel like it is such a phenomenal photograph that it almost doesn't need to be painted. Having said that, we're painting it. And you can see why or why not we might do something like this. I've done several paintings of this particular cat. One of them was in the international magazine that got one of the, I don't know, honorable mentions, which is pretty huge, because I think they have thousands upon thousands of paintings that they're choosing from, and I think they choose from all mediums. So for a watercolor to get that kind of recognition, that was pretty nice, and it was even nicer that it was mine. And so she's a funny cat. But you could see I lied to you guys yesterday. This morning I got in here and I decided, because her whiskers are fairly thick and they're so white, I decided to put a little masking on it. But I also decided you guys didn't need to sit and watch me do the masking anymore. You saw that already. But so normally when I am picking something that I feel like I'd like to paint, I'm picking something that has a very, very significant light source. I like light sources. Some people don't. Some people feel like they don't want to paint those strong lights or not paint those strong lights, however you want to say that. But I'm attracted to that, and so that's what I paint. And I do the same thing when I'm doing a portrait. I like a very strong light source. I have painted another painting that I thought was such a wonderful, it was a wonderful photograph, and I thought it really didn't need to be painted. But it was two labs peeking out of a fence. And I got a lot of recognition on that as well, but the photograph was so good. I mean, there was, I don't know. So on her, this is Houdini. There is a light source. It's probably not nearly as strong as I would like it. But where I felt like I was having a little bit of an issue thinking about where exactly some of the darks and some of the lights were happening, I came over and I did a little bit of shadowing, a little bit of hatchwork type thing. And I can just leave those alone. I don't have to go in there and erase them. Once I painted on them, they're permanent. They're not going away. So if I feel like any of my lines are too dark, I have to change it now. I have to lift it a little or whatever it is, but I'm not going to. The owner lives just down the road here a little bit. And so if it turns out, I probably will just give it to him. But so where I see these little pieces of shadow marks happening, like this, and I want to make sure that I get some of those in absolutely the right place. I just, like I said, I just come in here and I do a little bit of hatch work just as a reminder. And where I see specific little dots where it gets darker, I put those little dots. It helps me to remember. Come back this way a little darker, and then I'm going to come a little lighter and lighter, and so I hope that you have your own reference drawn up. put as much detail as you need, want in this. Not everybody wants all that detail. Some people believe that they can paint these things without this kind of a drawing. And if you can, go for it. I don't want to take the chance of getting towards the end of my painting and think, well, gee, I have this in the wrong spot. How now I'm going to have to figure out how to change that. So that's why I put it there. I can ignore it, but pencil marks become part of the composition where a watercolor is concerned. When you're entering any kind of a show, they consider that as part of the composition. They don't take away from it. If you go in afterwards and emphasize something, say I get this all drawn and I think, oh, I don't have this very well emphasized, I'm just going to take my pencil and do that. They will count you against that. That's their deal. So, having said that, shall we paint? Are you guys ready? One thing I did say to Pam, this Zoom, I always feel like I'm kind of here by myself. And so I'm talking to myself, and I miss the interaction that goes on in a regular classroom per se. So if anybody would like to ask questions, make a comment, please just unmute yourself and please do it. It'll help me remember that you guys are out there and that I'm not sitting here by myself. Well, I know I'm sitting.
Kim, I have a question. You masked just the whiskers? Is that all you masked?
And I ended up doing this, which I didn't want to do, and I did this, which I didn't want to do, but I did it anyway. See?
Wait, show us again. Which? Oh, on the ears?
This very light part, and this light part right here.
Okay.
Just a little.
Okay.
But I didn't do the light part under her eyes. I didn't do any of this. Everywhere where you see a little bit of a green, blue-green, that is where I masked. And so I was thinking about this painting and how I would like to paint it. And I always try to give myself somewhat of an exercise on how to approach a painting. And I said this yesterday, and I will say it again. Every time I pick up a brush, every time I sit down to paint, it is always an experiment. I don't have a formula. I don't paint the same thing over and over again. Even though you may see me paint a white cat 10 times, I never approach it the same way. I always try to figure out a different approach to doing it. And maybe that's why half of my paintings I feel like turn out a little mediocre, is because that is what I'm doing. But I don't feel like I continue to grow if I don't do it. So that's my reasoning. So having said this, because I know most of this stuff out these ways is pretty obscure. I don't really know a whole lot that's going on out there. I don't know where her body is. She's got some fur over this way. I don't know if her body's laying this way. I happen to know she's sitting on the stairs, peeking over an edge. So I don't know if she's actually laying on the stairs. Doesn't make any difference. So I'm going to approach this in a way that I don't normally do, because again, these are all experiments and we're supposed to be having fun here. Remember, fun? So I was thinking, just because I wanted to get some very fuzzy edges, that I'd like to get some of this wet and not just the, I'll spray it, and especially over this way. And I can do it here. I want some of these lines to stay pretty clean if I can, but we know I can always go back, pick them up, or I can scrape them out. It's not that big of a deal. So, but then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to because I'm going to make these connections right away from my background to my foreground. And of course, I got my reference wet. Oh, well. And you know, that's how I want you to talk to yourself. Again, we always have this thing in our head that every painting we do has to be a masterpiece, and it's just not true. It's not even realistic. So, but I do want to get some interesting colors happening. Like I said, this is a great place for me to connect. Here, there's very little value difference here. I can maybe even make some of these connections over this way. But I'm going to make a puddle of yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is a little brighter than my raw sienna, and I'm probably going to switch over to my raw sienna. But I want that one. I want my serpentine green. And I know I'm going to use a little bit of my cerulean. I don't know whose radio it is, but now I don't feel alone. Oh, I do know I would like a little bit of my cobalt violet light. I always feel like even if like the animal's nose says it's black, I know that getting a little pink in there is the best. And so I'm going to try to start up at the top here. I'm bringing it right out to the background. We're not going to make any distinctions. I can change the color of my background to anything I want. You know, there's no issue with any of that. I'm going to move into a little bit of my cerulean. I'm going to pull it right up. Let it commingle up that way. So I'm laying it down where I pretty much want it the darkest, and then I'm coming over here and I am putting it into a slightly different shade. I want to leave a little bit of the suggestion of the hair. And I'm going to move right into my yellow ochre. Want it to be fairly light in certain areas, and then I want it a little bit more intense in other areas. This is when I start feeling like I'm painting within the lines like a crayon book, I pull it out, because it's not my intent at this point to just fill in blanks. I know that these little shapes have value, so I'm going to give it to them. I am also going to take just a little bit of my raw burnt umber, excuse me. I'm just going to be pretty watered down, because some of these areas here are a more brownish. And I can come right into the eye. It truly doesn't make any difference at this point. All of this is going to dry very light. I'm even going to get some of my green moving in through here too. I like green and fur. I don't know why, but it reads better. And I want her hair to fuzz out. I don't want there to be a real distinctive line. Excuse me. If I go right over her little highlights, it's okay. Oh, goodness. I forgot yesterday to drink water, so. Need a reminder. And I'm also going to put a little bit of my yellow ochre right in her eye as well. I just want to get some colors going on in these areas so that I can come back in and put some more detail. Right around here in her face, it's pretty light, and down through here, so I can avoid those areas. I know, but I am going to stick some pink in this area, but it seems to give them more life if you can get it in the tear duct area and the nose and right at the mouth. And right here at the mouth, it doesn't show on a photo. Did you guys get the color photo of this one?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
So you can see that that area in her mouth is not pink, but it will read much better if I just give it a little pink, a little pink. I better get some of my blue moving in here too, I think. I want this to be very, very soft, moving in towards around her mouth. You see me doing this type of thing where I'm setting my color down and then moving it up into the wet area. I call it charging. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but that's what I say it is, because I'm forcing this color to meet up with that, and then it commingles down. And I can let some of this come right down here. I want this to be very soft. And it kind of feels like I'm only working on one half of the painting.
Is that a 16 brush?
This is my small jumbo. So now I'm going to go to the other half of my painting, and I'm going to kind of do some of the same thing. Now, I don't know why, but these little kitties that come from this country, and I don't know if it's because they're part wild or exactly what it is, but sometimes they have these little pieces that come right up off the tip of the ear, little fuzz, as if they're part lynx or something. My own cat has it, and it's so cute. Like I said, I'm going pretty light up in these areas because I know I want to be able to do some of that hair stuff without burnt sienna. I picked up burnt sienna because it's usually my go-to color. I want to add a little bit of my burnt umber to this area, just a little. come right down. I think part of the reason why I do this, some of this very, very light, this very first wash, is to see if I'm getting very light values in the right spot so that I know that I can come back and darken it up. See, these areas right through here are not, they're not white. So even they're very light in value, but they're not white. Feeling like I should get some of this cerulean. This is still pretty wet, so I'm going to get some of my cerulean over in this area. Just a little. That will make it blend in just a little. I can pull that right up to the top here too. The cerulean and the burnt umber make a really nice gray. But I also think that my cerulean with my burnt sienna makes a very nice gray. I'm going to have negative painting to do over this way, so I'd like this to fuzz out a little more as well. And I don't know what colors are staining and which ones are not. I don't pay any attention to it. I probably should pay a little bit closer attention, but it just feels like I'm not a real technical person when it comes to my paints. I pick the colors that I like, and that's what I do. Sometimes I end up in trouble. Part of that's the fun of trying to figure it out how to fix it, and I go from there. We were talking earlier before everybody got on about Andy Evenson, excuse me, and one of the things that I truly notice about his painting is that and Ron Stokes, they put their first whole wash, almost everything as a yellow ochre, and they look gorgeous. But that's not to say it's something that I really want to do. But in the moment, wherever it counts, that's where I do want to do it. So looks beautiful when they do it, that's for sure. It's a funny thing about us artists too. It always looks so much better when somebody else does it. If we do it, it's like, ugh. I remember I was taking Charles Reed, and Charles Reed just truly just painted everything that was in shadow. Everything else, not so much. And he was critiquing our paintings one day, and I said, why don't mine look like ghosts and yours look like people? And he was laughing. He said, that's because he did it instead of me. And he was right. That's just kind of what we do. I feel like she's got good color here. Yeah, and all of this stuff is going to dry pretty darn light, so I'm not overly concerned about if I have a little value somewhere where maybe I shouldn't. That's the other thing as a beginning painter, and even sometimes when you've been painting a long time, oh, that's too dark, and you come in and you lift it up. Well, you don't know if it's too dark yet. Leave it alone if you can. And then I'm going to just take all the color that I already have. I really do like to leave whites, but sometimes it's just very difficult to leave those lights when our whole reference is showing something else. Maybe I can leave it lighter though up this way. That might be an interesting try. How's that? And maybe get a little darker as I come down. Try to do a little negative painting right around some of her fuzzy hairs here. I have a wet enough that I'm not so sure it will do it. So you can always try. Of course, where I have the masking fluid here, we know we have to come darker in order to show that white. Has to be. There's just no two other ways about it. But if I can show it dark in certain areas and not put it everywhere, boy, that would be nice, wouldn't it? And I can add it to what I've got going on over here. My masking fluid right here is trying to make a pool, and I don't want it to do that. These places where it's darker within her, I can make little connections. And then I can come along and say, oh, I can find a little hard edge through here, and then maybe another connection. But we always have to watch these little areas because we don't want them to show hard lines. We want it to feel like it definitely is part of what's happening with her and not something that's just made up. One hard part about this as well is, like I still have my board on this 45-degree angle, so everything is running down. And normally I would not have a problem with that. One problem I do have with it though is that if I stop right here, it could pool here, and then it ends up looking like she's got a halo, and that's not what I want. Well, you can see the little tufts of her hair right up here. They're darker, right at the very tip. anywhere where you can cross a line and make the background part of your painting, you're going to be so much better off.
Hi, Kim, this is Trish. Could you repeat that last statement again?
Yeah, anywhere where you can bring your background into your subject, the better off you're going to be. It helps connect your subject to your painting, and it just, when we look at photos, this is probably one of the harder things about working with a photo, is that you see every line. You truly have to squint in order to figure out where to make connections. And especially all this modern technology, if you can't see it, we make it so that we can see it. We sharpen up every edge. It's part of what we want to do. We want to see everything.
Is the paper pretty dry by now?
Right over here it is, yes. I can see that, I think that I've missed something right through here. There's a little darker part of her ear. But I can come back for that and just make it a little darker. It's not an issue. And if this drips down and commingles right in with her, all the better. I have nice hard edges. I have some soft edges, some that are connecting, some that are disconnecting. I'm going to stick some of this up this way too, just because I can, just to change the color a little bit. This is my burnt umber. And if it goes right into her ear, good. And if it doesn't, I'm going to encourage it to.
Kim, what if you don't have burnt umber? What can you use instead?
You can make, you could use some burnt sienna, add a little bit of your cerulean, and it gives you a very nice gray.
So Kim, right now on the right side that you just did, the
Uh-huh.
paper had dried. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, but your paint is nice and juicy. So,
It only looks that way because it's wet. We don't know really what it's going to look like until it dries.
I love the colors.
And again, I really don't normally paint from a colored photo, but if it's an animal that I know, I have a harder time not painting from the photo because I want to make sure that the eye color is right and just little characteristics.
Kim, is that burnt umber or burnt sienna you're using right now?
I'm using burnt umber.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. And I'm adding just a little bit of, through the year, I'm adding a little bit of my cobalt violet light. We want to also make sure that I'm not getting too many lines that are the same, all in a row from here. We want to make sure that we stagger those lines so that they're not all same. I'm probably already giving too much attention to all this hair in the ear because it's like I said yesterday, it's something I don't like to do. I feel like I get too involved in, oh, that hair goes this way and this hair goes that way. So I should move on and just let this dry. Maybe even just take some water and do something like that. Mess it up just a little. Already looks better. Although I really don't want it to drip yet. Yeah, I said that it can come down here. It's not that big a deal. And you see, this is already dry as well. So I'm going to come right back over here. Make some of this darker. Now see, on this edge, I didn't put any white. I didn't put any masking fluid. So I might like to, I'll be painting around certain areas so that it feels like it's a much lighter edge. With this particular brush, you guys probably won't be able to see me do it a lot, but I do a lot of just squeezing out excess water. I rinse, I wipe it, and I just make sure I don't have a whole lot of water, because if I do, and I come back here, everything that I laid down is just going to wash away. I don't, it kind of shows these as a little bit of a hard line, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me right now. So I'm just gonna. Something. I'm gonna get this portion in here too, so I can help me see where I'm going. Doing a little bit of negative painting around just imaginary hair type things. Let's see, I like to liken watercolor to basically sculpturing, because your image should just start to emerge. I want to get just a couple of these darker things happening here too. so I can see where I'm going. I won't finish them. I just want to start getting them in the spot that they should be in. They don't have to be perfect. Nobody is ever going to look at this painting and look at that cat and say that she's missing a spot. Nobody will say it. Or that spot's in the wrong spot. But if I can start getting a few of these in here, I can see where I'm going a little bit. A bit of dry brush.
Are you still using your mop brush?
Yeah.
Your small?
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
yep. I really like this brush because it's one of those that if I want a point, I can mold it to a point. And if I want it to be a flat brush, I can flatten out those edges and do some of this. And when that's done, I can take it and I can smooth those out so it doesn't feel like painted hairs. This one I want to be a little darker. And it's wet enough that I can come back and just put in little dots and it will pull it out. And it doesn't feel like I got it quite low enough in my drawing. So I'm gonna change a couple of shapes. And those are the things you should always think about. Hey, I drew it this way. Is that right? If it's not right, don't paint it that way. That's one thing also, as you're drawing these things up, if you're tracing or you're using a light box or whatever it is that you're using to get your reference onto your piece of paper, realize that your photo is always going to lie to you. It flattens everything out. And lots of times you don't even realize it until you're painting it. And you're thinking, well, that's not the shape I want. That has a nice, beautiful little curve there, and I've drawn it very flat. So again, paint it right. Don't, just because you put it down that way, that you have to stick with it. I am gonna add a little bit of burnt sienna to this now. Is there something that I might not be telling you guys about that you really want to know before the end of this class? I don't know, be it about reference or painting technique or that must be a no. Right?
No, I have a question. I was on mute.
Okay.
This is Mary Sue again. You said when you went into doing the dark at the center of the face there, those line, that little M shape, yeah, that your paper was still wet. Mine is not wet, and if it is slightly wet, it's to the point where it could get blooms. Now maybe that doesn't matter, but
And
how
blooms
wet?
don't matter because we're doing animals. It just means that it's going to leave a nice, beautiful little texture right there. And
Right.
it's also telling you, okay, I have to let this dry a little bit more. And then
Uh-huh.
I can let it dry and I can come back. But those little blooms are just going to give you a little bit more texture, which are fun. There's something
Right.
the best part of this. Like some of this right here, I'll go to another area, leave this very, very hard like this. And then as hopefully it dries a little more and leaves me a little bit of a hard edge, then I can come back and I can touch it and help make it look like there's little bleeds there. But holding that shape. It's just like what I'm doing right here. I'm making this a pretty hard shape right here, but right here, this little part of the nose is in shadow, but I want it to hold this shape. So it needs to be dry enough that when I touch it, it will leave a very hard line, but it will help make a shadow. And the same with this area here. This area here is not quite as dark as what's up here. So I'm leaving it alone. Hopefully it's going to dry in such a way that it will hold its shape. But then I can come by here and just break this up a little bit. So it feels like hairs coming out of this area that are not I don't even know if you guys can even see it from there. You may have to make your zoom in on it.
Kim, this is Nancy. Do you ever start with the eyes in your
I do.
pet portraits?
I used to do it exclusively, and somebody would ask me about it, and I'm like, yep, that's what I do first. And then, I don't know, I just kind of moved away from doing it that way. But I do, because normally, if I can't get those eyes right, I'm not interested. And that is the truth.
It's funny that you asked that, Nancy, because I was just thinking that.
Mm-hmm. So true. Not interested. So I could get up here and do these eyes all wrong, and I'd be like, okay, I'm done with this. What should we do next, guys? But no, I would keep working on it. I would like to be able to say that at this particular point in my career, the eyes don't seem, I can do those. But I don't really want to say that I didn't say that, because when I go to do these, if I do them all wrong, then I'll be like, yeah, that was foot and mouth. Soon as you start bragging about one thing, it goes to pot. But I might go ahead and start doing those, because there's some nice darks in there. And just like around the nose here, there's very nice darks, and it feels like the nose is still gonna need one more layer of dark. But that's okay. I don't have to do it all at once. And these eyes are like a yellow green. So I'm going to use some of my yellow ochre. I kind of want it to be watered down, because yellow ochre to me can be very opaque. And if I start putting opaque paint on this, to me, it takes away some of the liveliness. And I'm not going to worry about where I have those darks at this point. I just want some colors going on. I'm going to use a little cerulean, let it commingle. If I need to encourage that, I definitely will. I'm even going to take a little bit of my serpentine. And I'm going right through the pupil. We're not worried about any of these dark spots. I'm going to come back with a little cerulean. It's better to use multiple colors. You will always be more satisfied if you use multiple colors. I even take just a little more of that yellow ochre, and I'm going to just drop it in. Now, I don't know if you guys realize the property of yellows, but yellows have a tendency to push any other color away from it. I feel like I'd like to see a little bit more cerulean. I think I'm going to put it up this way. Another thing to think about, the eyelids on whatever it is always going to cast a shadow. Always. If you're looking up at somebody, then the bottom lid will cast a shadow. So try to remember that. And here I am going around her little white, excuse me, lights in her eyes. She has, this portion right here looks like it is white, but I actually think it's part of her pupil. If you look at how big this one is and this one is, I think I'm just going to try to make it lighter in value than the pupil and what's beside it. I'm not going to make it white. I'll probably come along here and do also a dark ring. And as this is going away from the eye, I'm going to take some of this of darker value, which is going to be my burnt umber. I'm going to use a little bit of cobalt blue. And if it fuzzes up into here, all the better. Because it's already doing that anyway on my reference. I'm letting that kind of give itself a hard edge. I'm being careful that it doesn't overtake my eye, but just leaves a nice little fuzzy edge. And by starting to put in this little bit here, it will start giving her that light spot underneath her, on her bottom lid, whatever that is happening there. Just following my reference. This is soft right here. I'll come back another time and give it a little bit of a harder edge. I am going to pick up my burnt sienna again. And I'm going to add it to some of this, just to change the color a little bit. More. Got my paint nice and juicy today. And I'm going to do that again. I'm going to, and it's too wet. I'm not going to do that. I'll come back. But one thing, while this is still a little bit wet, I'm going to add just a little bit of burnt sienna to this. And even up this way, I think. This is all going to be very dark out in this area here, this area. It's going to be very, very dark. So I can, on the outer edge, I can put some of that in there. Let it fuzz right in. And this portion of it has a little bit of a shadow thing happening. I'm taking just a little bit, very watered down cerulean, because this has got a nice little shadow thing for all these little hairs. This will be much darker here. And again, this way, start giving it that shape. Little negative painting. This will come darker here, but I don't have to do that at this second. I can still put a little few more darkers through here and not darkers, you know what I meant. I want to continue a little bit of this very soft shadow right above her eye. I'm making it almost feel like pieces of hair. In the shadow, this one touches. I'm going to add a little purple now to my burnt umber, my mineral violet. Now, I could have handled this particular painting of almost like we did yesterday and gone in here and done all of our very darks. So this is just another approach to this. No right or wrong answer to any of these things. This feels like I'm going to have to get a little bit more of my, maybe I think maybe I'll change over to my raw sienna. Very watered down because again, it's very opaque. And raw sienna will do something very, very nice with purple, with my mineral violet, that yellow ochre does not do. So it's another good reason why I will change up that color a little bit. So I almost feel like I'm painting this a lot more direct than I did yesterday. So I am going to put in these little black dots for her, where her hairs are, so that when I do go over the top of them again, they'll smudge out a little bit. And it's also helping me to decide exactly where I'm at in my painting. This, I have a line right here and I'm not sure why. So I don't want to cross that line until I know. This. And I suppose while I'm at it, I may as well do it to the other side as well. Because those little spots really should be dry before, just like we did yesterday. So this is like a combo of what we did yesterday with more direct painting. I'm gonna move to the other eye, go back to a little bit. I don't have to use the same color. So having said that, I'm going to use my raw sienna instead of my yellow ochre like I did over here. Now, here she's got two highlights here and one here and one here. I'm gonna pay attention to my reference. If it feels goofy when I'm done, I'll do away with one of them. I already covered that one up, so, oh well. So I am just trying to follow my reference here. Not make it my Bible, but just so that I have interesting things happening. I want some of this to be directional, and if it's a little bit dry brush, more power to me. And again, one of my little dots there disappeared, so I'm gonna have to reestablish, which is fine. And it's better to do it when it's just ever so slightly damp because we want it to fuzz out. If it just sits there as a round hole, that looks very funky. My brush is pretty wet, so I want this to feel like it's a bit of a shadow. Back up. Back up to the eye. I'm going dark. I'm going to grab my French ultramarine, burnt sienna, and a little bit of my mineral violet. But I don't want it to look necessarily blue. I want it just to look dark. See how juicy that is? Hopefully it's dry enough.
Would you repeat those colors, Kim?
Yeah.
Ultramarine,
French ultramarine, burnt sienna, and mineral violet. And it's a very, very thick wash.
thank you.
And I want this to connect right with her pupil. I have a couple of little things drawn in there a little wrong, so I'm gonna. You see how light our paint looks, even though I've gone over that? As long as I put something around it much darker, I'm fine. I don't mean it's darker here. I am not too sure about leaving that portion of it lighter. I may have to just decide on that a little bit later. I have to assume it's something, some light that's coming in maybe from a window or something. I don't even know what it would be. But again, that's for us to decide. If it's not right, then we have to decide how to change it. I'm very gently touching these edges, so when I'm gonna be a little bit fuzzy up here. And if I have to encourage it, then that's what I do. Parts of this, you can't really even tell where her pupil begins and it ends. So it's a great place to make a little connection within the painting. There, but I'm going to darken up my serpentine with a little bit of the French Ultra and come this way. Not like that though, okay? I like that little sparkle that's going along the edge of this side of the pupil. I can even take a little bit of my burnt sienna and add to some of this. And you really can't tell that I have left that line there. So let's do this. And maybe that'll help encourage it. I'm not sure. I may have to lift just a little, but we'll see. This feels like the line is too hard on this side as well, along this edge right here. So I am just got plain water here on my brush, and I'm just gonna touch these edges just a little. I'll have to watch it because I don't want it to overtake this pupil. This is another place where I feel like some of this dark has to come up and feel like it's coming up over the top of something. So I just have a wet brush. I've smashed the end of my brush right here, so a very flat brush. And I'm going to encourage this to feel like it's coming up and around. This needs to come out this way. It's a nice place for a nice connection as well. It tells us that right there. And I'm going to blur this a little more this way. I don't want it to feel like I'm drawing hairs. That I don't. I want it to feel like it's a shape. also feel like this could come just a hair darker. This one needs to be more of a shadow through here because it goes back and around. And I'm gonna pick this one up just a little more again. I'm gonna see if very gently I can lift a little bit of this. Without getting a scrubber brush. I don't know. I'll let it dry. I'm gonna move to the other one. Again, I'm going very, very dark. You know what? While I'm over here, I'm going to continue with this real quick. Just so I can start seeing some of this. I'm adding a little bit of my burnt sienna to it. More burnt sienna. More burnt sienna. I must have something else on my brush, which happens quite often. It's coming right down into here. It's just all. I do want to change the shape of some of this. I don't really want this hard line exactly like that. So change it. I said I was going to go to the other eye, but I lied. I have so much of this portion of it done. I feel like now I need a little bit more done through here. So, having said that, that's kind of where I'm going here. Not kind of, I am. So again, I've laid it down and now I'm going to change the shape just a little. Hey, at least I'm not just working on the cat's ears. I want to get this in again and let it fuzz out some more. And as long as I have some of this, I'm going to put it this way as well. Changing my color.
Kim, I have a question about the eyes. The reference shows the shadows a lot wider than what you're doing. So you made the choice to make them narrower. Is that?
Here, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, my eyes are looking like black eyes now. They're just absolutely run together. But anyway, but I had drawn it out much wider, I guess. Yours are more delicate. I think that's just a judgment call that you know to make, and I didn't.
You know, and sometimes when we're printing these things up, the printer will print them very dark. And so you have to go back in there and try to lighten up some of that so you can see. I mean, here on my reference, I see that her eyeball is here. Then there is a much thinner line here. I could even from what
Okay, now yeah, I see that now that you pointed out. So that's just something we have to learn to see.
I don't know. That exact thing what you're talking about is either a good thing or a bad thing. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes you see too much information that you don't really need. You get all this stuff in there, and then all of a sudden it's like, why did I put that there? You know? And then the next time you do it, you think, oh, why didn't I have just a little bit more there? So it's a judgment call.
Okay, that comes with practice.
Right. She's a fun cat to paint, first and foremost. I didn't actually think so to begin with, because these two, this cat and my cat showed up on this ranch at the same time. We think somebody dumped them out here. And we took one, they took one, and I was thinking, oh, please let me have the short-haired one. And they were like, oh, please let me have the long-haired one. And so we both ended up very happy. But I have painted this cat quite a bit, and she is very, very fun to paint. And her parents go back to England quite often, and they end up leaving her outside, which is very difficult for me. And I have told them so. So when she knows that I'm here and they're gone, she knows she is very welcome at my home. But again, she's got such expressions that they're just so much fun to paint. And I never thought I'd like a long-haired kitty, but she's good. Sometimes it feels important to me too, to tell the background story on who, whatever we're painting. Sometimes if you don't have those special feelings for whatever it is, then you're never gonna have, I don't think, a great painting. I think our feelings come out for them. I don't know. You guys can just tell me to shut up too, it's okay.
That becomes problematic with commissions because you don't have the connection.
Yes.
And you're trying to capture this
Essence.
animal that you're not real happy with anyway, you know,
Yeah,
it's difficult.
they, I gotta get some green in down here too, because I have a lot of my burnt sienna, burnt umber, all that kind of stuff down here. And again, I always feel like getting green in your hair and with your fur, it just reads better. And it feels like I've made this cat end right here, so that's not a good thing. Because we know it's more like up here. So let's get some of that up there. See, I'm trying to decipher if I really did, maybe I did paint this right. I mean, draw it right. Sometimes it's just understanding what you drew. All right, let's work on this other eye. Again, very, very thick wash. A little bit of a flatter brush so that I make sure this one edge is very strong. And you're going to come back and loosen it up anyway, so, but I want it to be in the right position. And again, right here at the top, I can see a very slight variation here. It's not as dark as this one was. But I'll decide. I think I kind of wanted that highlight to just interrupt my pupil just a little bit. And here, again, where I went right over the top of that pupil, I can come back and just paint around it again. When anything is too perfect, it never looks good. It's much better, like, as I'm looking over there, it almost feels like this pupil feels good because it's not perfect. If you can lose a little few of these edges, all the better. Although I don't want to lose it here, and I know it's probably too wet and I'll probably mess it up, and it's okay if I mess it up. And again, we have to make this feel as though there's some thickness here. It can't be a flat eye. If it looks too flat, it just, you look at it like, oh, something happened with that eye and I don't know how to fix it. And usually it's because you made it too flat. This little edge needs to be soft. See, as I'm looking over here too, and now it feels like this white spot is just a little bit too light. And so I'm going to do that. Let's take it away a little bit. I am gonna take just a little bit of my burnt sienna, just a very light wash, and put it this way. All right, now this did not end up dark enough right through here. There's too much. I don't mind if I see a little bit, but it was feeling like there was too much information there. Really want that top of that pupil to just kind of disappear into the top of the eye. That feels better. Notice how light the inside of that nostril got. And I thought I was pretty juicy when I put that in there. I think that I'm a pretty fast painter considering. And even then, I feel like I'm telling people to slow down all the time. How are you guys doing? Did you fall asleep?
No sleeping, just watching your kitty evolve. It's adorable. Such personality.
She does, believe me, she is. Her parents were out of town and she came up to us, and when I told my friends that she belongs to, that she was up there, they said, that's fine, but don't expect her to sleep with you because she just won't do it. Well, she snuggled up right next to my husband and I took pictures and I said, she what? So underneath her, where her mouth is here, I see right over here that there's a little bit more information saying that's part of her mouth over here. But I don't want to come in here and just draw a line. I want it to, and besides that, I do have masking fluid here, but I want it to feel like kind of comes and goes. I'm using a little bit of my mineral violet with raw sienna, and I'm gonna add just a little bit of my cerulean, it's kind of a separation between her paw and her jaw, right through here. But I want it to have a little bit of color through here too, as it fades into.
That's mineral violet, raw sienna, and what was the other color?
Cerulean.
Oh, thank you.
And now I'm going to do a little bit, a darker one. I'm gonna put my mineral violet, French ultramarine, and I think I'm gonna use the burnt umber just to change up my dark, just a little. And it's still wet, so I'm just dropping it in. I'm gonna change, I'm gonna add cobalt to that instead of my French ultra. Again, just to change up the dark. And then I'm gonna water some of this down a little bit and bring it up. So it feels like it's coming. Hey, who didn't paint this side right here? How'd that happen? Some of these are harder lines than others, so I'm gonna go ahead and start putting some of these in over here. Mostly just so I keep moving around my painting. Okay, let's do this again. And yes,
Can the colors in the ears are the cobalt?
violet, white. I've put a little bit of my burnt umber, and now I'm putting in just a little bit of purple so that it looks as if it doesn't really show it on that ear very much, but it just feels like it needs it just a little. And of course, that looks like a lot. So I will be toning it down.
You have a wonderful command of color too, which
Why, thank you.
is so helpful.
Well, sometimes I feel like I do, and other times I feel like I don't. One of those, what was that commercial? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
So Kim, it's 12 o'clock. Whenever you're comfortable, find a place to stop. We could take our lunch breaks.
Okay, let me just do just this portion right here because this will bother me.
Okay.
Leave this like this. Because it doesn't feel, oh, okay, I know, I don't have any of this in here yet. To give her this other like shape around her eye. And then we can go eat.
I don't know how anybody else feels, but this is certainly harder than I anticipated.
Always.
Agreed.
Okay, oops, wait a minute, I don't like that shape. There's always something, what can I say?
We, I'm sure, I have many shapes that are totally off, so.
Hey, we all do. Our painting's not done. And you see these three little marks here? Not good. So let's get rid of or soften it up and, you know, and I, you know, I'm looking at her picture, her ear is like huge, huge. This one doesn't feel as huge as this one. This one feels very, very large. And I'm thinking really.
Mine
What?
do too. They really like big ears.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
I go to the outside edge, did I, no, I don't think I drew it wrong. Outside edge. This is what happens too, you know, it says it's right, so we gotta make it right. All right, I'm gonna stop the video. Oh, I have to stop sharing first. Stop sharing.